apparently started very quickly and spread super rapidly, because even once we realized what was happening, when it had jumped over to our house, their entire garage was engulfed. So it was a matter of probably 5 minutes from when it started to when we got out, and their entire garage was already gone.
A devastating loss as two families' neighbors deal with the aftermath of two house fires. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tiffany Lewis. Brandon Kimmerman and Kendall Bartley are off tonight. Erica Reyes of Cottage Grove tells us Christmas Day took a devastating turn for her and her family after a neighbor's yelling for them to come outside became the beginning of one of their worst nightmares.
So it got into the attic, so this is where they got in to keep it at bay.
Only the smell of smoke and the skeleton of what was a home remained for one family in Cottage Grove after a house fire broke out on Christmas Day, gutting part of a neighboring home. It happened at the corner of East Van Buren Avenue and South 13th Street. I spoke with the owner of that neighboring home a day after the fire.
I went in my room, and then I heard my husband yell, "Calm down," to someone, and I thought he was talking to our dogs because they were kind of going crazy. And then the next thing I knew, he was screaming that we needed to get out, that there was a fire.
Reyes's neighbor from across the street had come over and pounded on the door before the couple knew something was wrong.
My son came out and saw smoke coming out of their garage, and he goes, "I think there's a fire over there." So we run out, and by the time I ran out, it was engulfed in flames. I ran across the street and woke. They were napping, they said, and I pounded on their door and got them out of their house and made sure they were safe.
Reyes says they rushed to get their two teen children, two dogs and two cats, out of the house, but one pet was missing.
We couldn't find the other cat, so we got them safe and put them in one of the cars, and then we just kept hearing popping and popping from next door, and we didn't even really know where the fire was at that point, if it had started on our house or not. And so we just kind of, we're still going in and out of our house trying to find the cat.
They finally gave up the search for their cat, and that's when Cottage Grove Fire Department, South Lane Fire and Rescue, and Cottage Grove Police arrived around 1 p.m., leaving Reyes and her family to watch and wait for an outcome as their home burned.
It had happened so quickly. We went from celebrating to all of a sudden worrying about if they were going to be found or all of that. So really it was just trying to console them and trying to make sure that they were okay. My husband, who came from Mexico, just seeing his dream and his home go up in flames and not knowing if we were going to be able to ever, get back in, and the extent of the damage. I could see it in his face that he was just so worried.
The damage to the Reyes home was contained to the left side, leaving one bedroom demolished and a hole in the living room ceiling.
All in that corner over there.
Their neighbor's home, where the fire started, along with several vehicles, appeared to be badly damaged.
They pulled the giant hoses of water inside and were spraying everything down and had to rip through the attic. And so we just kind of waited, and then finally, I would say it took them probably a good hour and a half to get everything under control.
Though distraught over her own loss, Reyes says her concern now is for the well-being of her neighbors, who she says weren't there at the time of the fire and arrived Friday to the devastating scene.
They, were just absolutely devastated. She's 34 weeks pregnant, and they have, I think, a 2 or 3-year-old. And so they were with family, and they, came back to the loss of 2 of their pets were inside. So they were dealing with that, and now they have, nowhere to call home while they're expecting their second baby.
Once the Reyes family was finally able to get back inside the house, Reyes says they were able to find their missing cat.
Thank you, Gold. Well, Reyes' insurance company estimates it'll be about 4 to 6 months before the possibility of moving back into their home. In the meantime, the 4 of them, along with their 4 pets, are staying in a neighbor's 1-bedroom Airbnb attachment until early January.